Well, speaking of somewhat of a concern here, Shane, normally I would have led with this because it's pretty explosive stuff in my opinion. But let's kick it all down to College Station. Man, I gotta be honest, Shane. After last week we were talking returning production, A&M #1 in the SEC, top 10 in the country, bringing back all these pieces. I believe only 3 starters from last season's win over LSU will not be returning, and those 3 are off to the NFL. We had Anaya Smith make a surprising decision to return just a couple weeks ago. Things are looking good. I loved the Bobby Petrino hire for what that could add to the Texas A&M football program. But again, I'm trying not to overreact here, Shane. It's March 21st as we're sitting here recording. But my goodness, Shane, Jimbo did not want to get into this at all to open spring. Let's kick it over to Jimbo. I mean, this is like 5 questions he's got to answer on the offense, what it's going to look like, Bobby Petrino, what the hell you doing bringing this guy in here, all on and on and on. This is some wild stuff. So let's kick it over to Jimbo.
Jimbo, how much difference will there be in the offense, and how much control?
We ain't worried about. Here's what we're doing.
How much control does Bobby have?
We're running our thing. We're going to be base fundamentals. We ain't getting into scheme. We ain't getting into anything. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to practice and what we're going to do on a daily basis. When do you have to get into scheme? What we put in that day, and then we'll be base fundamental. How you execute your scheme is what's about fundamentals.
Jimbo, what is it about Bobby philosophically that you like about because of what he's done in the past and what he brings to this program?
Yeah, I mean, Bobby's an experienced guy who's called plays and done a great job, and he's got a really good foundation and fundamentals of football, which have great balance, whether it's running the ball, throwing the ball, and has been able to be very productive in the things he's been able to do.
Jimbo, what is it about Bobby philosophically that you like about because of what he's done in the past and what he brings to this program?
Yeah, I mean, Bobby's an experienced guy who's called plays and done a great job, and he's got a really good foundation and fundamentals of football, which have great balance, whether it's running the ball, throwing the ball, and has been able to be very productive in the things he's been able to do.
How would you describe similarities and differences between you two philosophically?
We ain't got enough hours on day to do all that. But at the end of the day, we believe in one thing: execution. So at the end of the day, that's what it's about. An over route's an over route, a dig's a dig. How you get there, what you do, and we get so caught up in it's not scheme, it's execution, and then that goes back to how do you execute? Fundamentals: alignment, assignment, technique. No matter what you do, and if you want to know technicals, if you go watch everybody in the country. Everybody does the same thing. Go watch film. If you sit down and watch film, there's not a hill of beans between anybody. As far as what goes on, what routes are, what plays are, it's a counter is a counter. A dig and a post is a dig and a post. Verticals are verticals. I mean, it's all the same. It gets back to execution and fundamentals.
Left, front.
So help me out. So you hiring Petrino is going to help your execution. Am I correct when you're saying it gets down to execution? Whatever you see that he does comparable
it's
to
going
you?
to allow us some things. I think he's a very good coach, and I think he'll help us offensively. Yes.
Execution. But so what
And
about,
it's what coaching is. I mean, at the end of the day, it gets back to being able to execute what you do and be able to be consistent in what you have to do.
Yeah, just trying to see that you guys a little more comparable. So you feel the execution will be there better?
Well, hopefully. I mean, that's what we're here to try. Based off our fundamentals and our work habits and what we do on a daily basis, that's what we'll get back to.
And what about who makes the play calls? Would that be him or you?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go through that as we go.
Go back to the back.
Plan on him making calls. Plan on him calling plays. I have no problem with that at all.
Kind of feels like Jimbo's the only one not excited about bringing in Bobby Petrino.
But I'm glad you said that, Shay, because twofold. I'll get to that in just a second. But knowing the coaches, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I know all of them and I'm good buddies or anything like that. But in the spring, these guys are always in a better mood. There's no pressure. Things are slower. You're teaching, developing. We usually don't see this to the fall, Shane, when a unexpected loss happens. It feels. Just, again, maybe I'm overreacting here, but it feels like the pressure is on Jimbo to such an extent here that, he can't even answer a simple question of who's calling the plays. Is it going to be Bobby Petrino? Is it going to be you? What's the system? I mean, he's getting short. He's cutting people off. He did, eventually, after basically moving on to the next person, admitting, hey, yeah, Bobby's going to call plays. I don't have a problem with that. Who in the hell, Shane, hires a coordinator and then when asked if they're going to let them call plays, says, I don't have a problem with that? I mean, that is not, to me, sounding like someone that is very open and willing to that person coming in and calling the shots. I don't know. I'm just baffled by this, and it feels like, that marriage is, again, it's very, very early, but it feels like it's already tenuous.
Well, it is, and it's discouraging. It's discouraging. How can you be a fan of Texas A&M? And we talked about Alabama earlier with some excuses that could happen, and obviously Texas A&M had a lot of bad things happen, injuries, kids getting in trouble, whatnot. You could point fingers at whoever, but the fact of the matter is the product was pathetic last year on the field. It was just abysmal at times, and it was just tough to watch. And so we convinced the whole nation that, hey, we're going to fix it. We're going to get better. I'm going to bring in a different eyes. I'm going to bring in a different style of offense here. It's going to help jumpstart what we're trying to do down here in College Station. And then you come out here in the spring, before you even really took serious snaps, being discouraging that you're going to relinquish those reins. And so naturally you're going to be a little bit skeptical coming into the season. And yes, he is on the hottest of hot seats, Mike. Honestly, I think if there was – he's got 6 games, in my opinion. You got the Miami game. You got the Arkansas game. You got the Bama game. That's all played within 6. You got Tennessee right after that, so it ain't getting any easier. But it would not surprise me that if this goes bad, those first 6 games, that we lose Jimbo. So to do that, to start out of the gate on the right path and correct what you're going to do, you've got to convince me that you're doing everything you can to not repeat the performance you had last season. So you bring in an offensive coordinator. You should sell him. You're selling him to me. You're not, I don't need to be convinced that you know offense, Jimbo. I need to be convinced that you're willing to adapt to this day and age college football.
Right, and him just saying, my God, basically saying, well, all offense is the same. I probably have a lower football intellect than most people, despite what I do here. But you cannot tell me that you watch Tennessee and you watch Texas A&M and say, oh, yeah, it's the same. It's the same damn thing. It's just execution.
It's a dig. It's a curl round. That's all it is. Same thing.
That's laughable. Those are comments from a guy that is seemingly totally out of touch with what is happening and how pathetic the offense is. And again, this is not me railing on the university or the program or anything like this. This is on Jimbo's shoulders. And that is why bringing Bobby Petrino in, who despite, I've heard he's pretty much a scumbag off the field. He is a genius play caller. He'll get more out of quarterbacks and play calling than many coaches we have seen in the SEC. You let him do that. You manage a program like we know you can. This has the potential to be a grand slam. But again, the first day of spring practice, and we're already tenuous is the best word I keep coming up with. But the tension is palpable there.
Well, and it makes you wonder, what is it really like in that locker room? What is it like on that sideline, Bobby quit another job for, I know he only worked there like 2 days, but, he quit another job to come over here and help Texas A&M. And if you come over here and you're handcuffed and you can't run the offense you want to run, you're going to be the scapegoat. He's going to try to blame you. And so I'm I'm very discouraged with how this was handled. Now, obviously, you filtered out several of the questions. I don't know. There may have been 30 other Bobby Petrino questions or roundabout ways of doing it, but he is the big switch down there, and this is what you need to, as a head coach, as a general manager, you're also a salesman. You need to come out here and convince us that this is why I brought him in here, to help us get from point A to point B. It's not saying that Jimbo can't coach. Jimbo needs to coach, but he needs to be more of a general manager instead of focused on one side of the ball.